What's up, gamers? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for May 24th, 2022. I am your host, Morsane. Joining me is the Rogue One, Gary Witter. Gary, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited. May 24th, Batman Fortress issue #1 is in stores
Hell
today.
yeah.
Reviews are good. I'm
I'm very
excited.
excited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
I'm excited to I'm gonna pick it up and read it tonight.
I love it.
As a huge Batman fan, I'm excited to sit down and check it out. Do you want to give people the quick elevator pitch on what is going on in the world of Batman in Fortress?
Yeah, there's been a strange kind of alien attack on Earth. All global power and communications have been disrupted. Superman is nowhere to be seen, so Batman has to figure out a way to tackle a superhero level threat without any superpowers of his own. It's fun. The first issue is basically him kind of running around cleaning up a crime wave in Gotham City because all the power's out. The police can't do anything. There's no 911. Radios are down. There's been a mass breakout at Arkham Asylum. You know, all your favorites are on the streets, and it's just a good old classic kind of Batman comic, kind of fighting crime on the streets of Gotham. But then at the end, there's a hint that like it's going to go to some weird places: Justice League, Aliens, Superman, all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to do.
Yeah. I love those like issues or those arcs where it's like almost like a reminder of why Batman is just so damn cool. And that setup sounds exactly like, hey, we're gonna give you a crash course on why this dude is awesome.
Yeah, a little bit of Batman 101.
Yeah, exactly. I love that stuff. I'm super excited to read it.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think. And there's a lot of comic book fans that Kind of Funny, so I'm interested to hear what all you guys think when you've had a chance to get your hands on it.
I'm super excited as well because I just got an amazing delivery. This is a little plug, but last time I was here, I was doing a show with Tim, and everyone noticed because I was in the middle of some spiel, and then I've been using this Razer laptop for a really long time, and it just died. Like every now and then, just crashes. It crashes, and like everything goes black. The screen goes black, and I just have to wait for it to recover its display drivers. It's an old Razer laptop, and I was like just waiting there, and Tim had to like pick up the kind of slack for me, and I talked about it. And this is the power of Kinda Funny. Apparently, someone from Razer was watching as it was happening, and they were like, they DM'd me and they were like, that sucks. We're going to get you a new Razer laptop so that you can do this show.
So what do you got?
I got it.
What is it? Is that the 14?
14, yeah. Blade 14.
I hear that's a good one. The Razer Blade 14-inch.
Yeah, Blade 14-inch has got I believe it's got a 2070, a 3070, I believe it is.
I have the 17-inch with a 3070, and that thing is really nice.
Yeah, it's got a 3070 in there, and I turned it on and I played with it a bit yesterday, and I was like, oh my god, this is incredible. After using my old Razer and like really struggling through it, they sent this one, and I started. I was like, I cannot wait to be able to open documents and not have to watch as it crashes constantly. So big shout out to Razer for hooking me up.
It's funny. I have a whole weird thing with gaming laptops. When I was editor of PC Gamer back in the day, the idea of a gaming laptop or even any kind of PC laptop was kind of a joke. Like back in the mid '90s, there were these giant, like a Toshiba like suitcase, basically. Luggage. And it was like maybe you got like a Pentium 60 in there or something. It was like $10,000 for this ridiculous thing. And then over the years, after I left PC Gamer, I kind of got more into console gaming, and I still played PC games, but like on a desktop PC. And like the whole PC gaming laptop category was something I was like intellectually aware of, but never really had been exposed to. And then I got my hands on that 17-inch Razer Blade, and I played games on it for the first time. Like, holy shit! Like this is a proper PC.
Yeah,
like it runs games every bit as well as you would want to. Just amazing. I've really my eyes have been open totally to that.
Yeah, I think I'm very similar. Like I've got my desktop PC, but the first gaming laptop that I actually got was the Razer GeForce RTX 2070 model, which is like from like 2019 or 18. And the thing I loved about it was it just looked like a normal laptop. The thing I hated about gaming laptops is they had to try and look like they were like something like Optimus Prime shat out, like or after a bad curry or something. And like it's fucking, now they're just like slick, like, and I think it's Razer that are mainly doing it. Like I'm in the same way that I try and buy like Volkswagens if I'm ever buying a car, I'm now like, if I'm buying a laptop for gaming, it's going to be a Razer one.
I like the Razer ones. Aesthetically, I like the Razer ones because, again, apart from those little green accents, they are just like a little black slab, right? But there are definitely other laptops out there that still do what you're talking about. I think they draw way too much attention to themselves. They're trying to look like something from the future, and that's not even talking about where the desktop category's gone. The RGB thing, I don't know where you stand on the whole RGB thing, Tam. I actually kind of like it, but I do think it's gone too far. Like it's time to rein some of that shit back in.
It is, yeah. It's become a bit much to the point where I don't know. It feels kind of garish now. I think we've reached the point with RGBs that we reached with flame decals on cars and even clothing at a certain point. Like it's like at some point everyone was like, "That's pretty cool. There's a fire in your car," and then it became very, very like gauche and very like fucking. This is disgusting to look at, and I think we're rapidly reaching it with or we've reached it with RGBs on computers. I'm just like, I just want it to play video games quietly, you know what I'm saying?
I'm glad that the console market hasn't succumbed to that. Can you imagine if like the next range of Xboxes and PlayStations look like fucking cars from Fast and the Furious like PCs do now, with all the underlights and like, a fully programmable RGB, and they all look like these kind of hollow cubes from the future or whatever. I don't know why PC gamers are so upset. I see it all the time on my Instagram because I follow like some PC stuff on Instagram. So the algorithm suggests me all this stuff, and it's always like, check out this awesome build. And it's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It's like,
well, I think it's because they like make it the center of like a room, right? Where it's like, for me, I think like if I'm creating a gaming space, I want it to be like as minimalist as possible, and I kind of don't want it to look like a gaming space, if you know what I mean. And whereas most people are like, all right, I need to make this look like I'm in a spaceship, and I cannot. I know
some of these, like you're right. They put the PC there, and then they build out the whole room, the whole aesthetic of the room is designed to kind of match the PC.
Yeah.
And there is definitely like it's an aesthetic. It's a thing. Like if you're into it, like you can do it. Some people do it really well. Like if you like that sort of thing, yeah, that's really well executed. But I don't know. It's a little too much for me. It's too flashy.
Yeah, for me as well. Today's stories include a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 release date, unionization in the games industry taking a big step forward, Pac-Man in Fortnite, and a Dragon's Dogma anniversary, and much more, because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily, where each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on twitch.tv/Kinda Funny Games. You can get the nerdy news and all that kind of business shoved down your eyeballs and in your ears and that kind of stuff. If you are watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindafunny.com/you're wrong. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, or listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kinda Funny Games Daily. Remember to use Epic creator code Kinda Funny on Epic Store and Epic in-game purchases like Rocket League and Fortnite, and that will help support Kinda Funny. And to be part of the show, head to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where bronze members or above get to write in, and silver members or above get the show ad-free along with the exclusive daily post-show. Housekeeping, one time I'm going to be a bad game of sweeping. A new episode of the Kinda Funny Xcast is up with SnowBikeMike and one Kahlief Adams talking all about what modern sports games are missing compared to the greats of NBA Street and SSX Tricky. I can't believe there's not been an
I'm sorry, I missed that one. I feel bad as well because Kahlief apparently wore his football shirt.
Oh no!
Because he knew it was a sports thing, and he wanted. I think he wanted to kind of be very sportsy because he knows I'm into sport, like English sports anyway. And I wasn't there. I've actually missed the Xcast for 2 weeks in a row now, and I felt bad that I. Do
you know what team he was wearing?
He was wearing. I believe it was New York City FC. It's the same people that own Manchester City. It's the light blue vibe. Gotcha. I don't know if they're any good. Are any of the teams in the MLS any good? They're all shit, aren't they? But
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You can check that podcast out on youtube.com/Kinda Funny Games or podcast services around the world by searching for Kinda Funny Xcast. Screencast is popping off in a big week. Later today, they're going to have the team, or by now you should be able to see the team's reaction on the Mission Impossible trailer and the review of Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. There's also going to be a Better Call Saul Finale Season Part 1 review featuring Jake Baldino. And then this Friday, there's going to be a review of the first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi featuring Saige Ryan. Make sure you can check that out on youtube.com/kindafunny or on your favorite podcast services by searching Screencast. I forgot that. Is Obi-Wan out this week? Damn, yes. That's wild.
Yeah, and they're doing 2 episodes, I believe. The big news for me was I didn't know. Someone on my stream told me last night that Sonic 2 is now out. It's on Paramount Plus streaming, and it's on all the, you go buy it from iTunes or whatever. I fucking loved Sonic 2, and I couldn't wait. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, I can't wait for this to come out like on VOD so I can watch it again. So That begins now. I'm going to do a Sonic 2 rewatch this weekend.
I've not seen it yet, so I'm excited to watch it.
Did you like the first one?
Yeah, I thought the first one was fun.
If you like the first one, you'll love the second one. It's basically more the same, but better.
I hope Obi-Wan is good, because I started watching the Book of Boba Fett, and like I watched 2 episodes and I was like, I don't understand any of this, and it's not working for me. But I really want to like Obi-Wan, so I've got my fingers crossed for that. Do you like trivia shows? Do you like Family Feud? Well, GameSpot. The GameSpot Bless Who post show has recently introduced a new game called Kinda Feudy. And that is a lot like Family Feud, but for video games.
Quick UK shibboleth for you. You'll know this, Timur. You're from the UK. So Family Fortunes. Yeah, of course. Family Fortunes in the UK. The great Les Dennis.
The great Les Dennis. Oh, God. I used to love watching that show so much.
Hollywood Squares in the UK?
Oh, yeah? Yeah?
No, I'm asking you. What's it called in the UK?
Hollywood Squares. Shit. What was it called? Oh, it's gone out of my head. I don't know. It's gone.
Celebrity Squares.
Celebrity Squares. That's the one. It's so simple as well. I forgot about it. What is the one? I can't remember. What is the one where they had like loads of screens and they were like going up, like cascading in a on like a.
That was the it was the $25,000 pyramid. In the UK, it was the Pyramid Game.
The Pyramid Game, and you had to like run up and down these steps and like press the buttons on.
Oh no, that's
TVs.
something else.
I can't remember what it was called. Crap, it's going to be stuck in my head. But I think that was another Les Dennis joint. It might have been a Barrymore joint. I think it might have been a Barrymore joint, actually.
Oh, it might have been Strike It Lucky.
It might have been Strike It Lucky. Yeah, Strike It Lucky is probably Strike It Lucky. Oh, that was a good show. I was watching recently episodes of Supermarket Sweep again on my phone, just in bed.
The Dale Winton version?
Yeah, the Dale Winton version.
Oh, my goodness.
So good. Sometimes I get like nostalgic for being, or like I'll feel homesick, and I watch either game shows or there's this. I think I mentioned it before. There's a guy who just walks around London, and like it's always areas that you will immediately know. And he's like doing history tours of all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, cool. And I know. And the funny thing is, I might have mentioned this before, but I recognized him immediately because I walked past him a few times while I was in London, and he would be like recording on his phone and speaking.
Oh, weird.
And I was like, I remember at the time thinking, I wonder what that guy's doing. And then all these years later, I find him on YouTube, and I'm like, that's what he was doing. Who would have known?
That's funny.
Small world. But yeah, so Kinda Feudy. The team needs some help. Over on Blessing's Twitter is a link to a Google form where you can submit answers to the Kinda Feudy questionnaire to make your voices heard and help determine the answers. So get over there and help him out. Thank you to our Patreon producers.
I seem to remember I did a trivia game with Greg on Kinda Funny once, and I wiped the floor with him.
Oh, I think it might be time to run it
off
back.
More than he could chew that day, let me
tell you. Greg often does that, but you know, he'll never learn. So you'll probably be able to do it again soon. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Anonymous and Fargo Radio. Today we are brought to you by MeUndies, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is and will forever be the Roper Report. It's time for some video game news. We've got 5 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Hot off the press, short and sweet one. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is releasing on October 28th. That is coming from the #1 video game website in the world, of course, GameSpot.com, written by Steve Watts. Activision has revealed the release date for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in a new trailer showing off various pieces of character art. The sequel is coming on October 28th, 2022. The trailer debuted the date in unusual fashion, showing pieces of character art on tanker ships and shipping containers, all built into the image of the fan favorite character Ghost. When all the pieces come together. The trailer also teased appearances from Captain Price, John Soap McTavish, Kyle Gaz Garrick, and a new character, Mexican Special Forces Colonel Alejandro Vargas. Those characters all make up Task Force 141. This may be setting the stage for the rumored June reveal of Modern Warfare 2, likely to take part in one of the Not E3 presentations. We've been calling it Not E3 at GameSpot, but also interchangeably using Key 3 as an homage to Jeff Keighley. So you're welcome to use that. Activision has traditionally showed off pieces of its games at the PlayStation or Xbox Showcase, but this year there's also Summer Games Fest Live as a potential home for the reveal. And this is all happening amid Microsoft proposed acquisition of Activision, which would include the Call of Duty franchise. That deal is still working its way through the regulatory bodies, but Microsoft has already said that it will continue to release Call of Duty games on PlayStation. The deal itself is all happening against the backdrop of abuse allegations at Activision, which drove down stock prices ahead of Microsoft's acquisition. Gary, where are you at with Call of Duty these days?
I'm glad that this year's entry is Modern Warfare 2, because for me, the Modern Warfare games, the kind of the core ones, that's what Call of Duty is to me. I really like this most recent Modern Warfare reboot they did a couple of years ago. I love Captain Price; he's my favorite, and I just like the whole like techno thriller, geopolitical kind of Tom Clancy ripped from the headlines, bullshit that they do. That last game, with the, I don't know if you played the most recent Modern Warfare, but the one where you do like the SAS raid on the terrorist safe house, so fucking good. Like that to me is like what Modern Warfare is all about. And they had a bunch of other really good levels in that map, in that campaign as well. And then when they do like Call of Duty Vanguard, or go off and do something like more esoteric, I liked Cold War, but for me, Modern Warfare or Call of Duty is like the contemporary stuff. The Modern Warfare, Ghosts, Black Ops, Cold War, the older World War II stuff. I know that's where it began, but I feel like it's moved on since then. It's interesting. We always treat every year, right? We treat Call of Duty's coming out a date in or around late October. We treat it like it's news every year, and of course, it's like the sun rises in the east. Every year we know that there's. Although what's interesting, of course, is that with that Microsoft acquisition, I believe that's coming to an end, right? I didn't Phil Spencer say he's going to take Call of Duty off the annual treadmill and maybe do it like once every couple of years, which I think is maybe something that the series could benefit from. Certainly the developers, who are always crunching constantly to get those games out on an annual schedule, even amongst all the different studios they rotate them through. So I thought the video was good. I watched the video earlier this morning. It shows just how far graphics have come. It actually took me a minute. I was watching this like big barge go under a bridge with like a big Modern Warfare 2 banner. I was like, oh my God, they like, I know it's Activision, they've got a lot of money, it's Call of Duty, big marketing budget, but like, how'd they get that thing on a big barge? And then you realize, oh shit, it's all computer graphics, but it looks so good. It basically looked almost photoreal. So, it's kind of like a teaser of a teaser. The release date again is no surprise. Every year we know it's going to be around that date every time, as regular as clockwork. Now we know the exact date. Fine. I'm very glad it is a return to Modern Warfare 2, to the Modern Warfare universe, which is again my favorite corner of it all. And I think it'll be good. I hope there's a proper campaign. It seems like there will be. I always play the campaign and then don't really bother so much with the multiplayer because I'm just not good enough to compete online. But yeah, I'll play it. Like I said, really, really liked the last Modern Warfare. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't finish the last Modern Warfare. I think there were some issues with it. That there was a little controversy around it, which kind of, for one reason or other, I was involved with. But there was that whole kind of reworking of history about the Highway of Death. I believe that one was in Modern Warfare.
I remember that one. Yeah, that was controversial, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very interesting way to hand wave away the American partaking in a very awful war crime, effectively. But yeah, and the kind of like response from the kind of director and the creators of it was not very satisfactory. But there were elements of it that I found quite distasteful, and there's part of the modern Call of Duty, especially the Modern Warfare stuff in this day and age, that I struggle with these days.
I hear what you're saying. There's definitely always like, it feels like a guilty pleasure at this point. I do enjoy playing them, but there's also a part of my brain that's kind of going, should you really be enjoying this?
Yeah, and like for me, it was the fact that it was there's a genre of kind of like a fiction called that is referred to as copaganda, which is like making cops look great and making cops look cool, that I kind of like I'm aware of, and I feel like there's a version of that exists for the military in video games. And that's not to say like I'm against military stuff in video games. Like I've played the most hours of any game of my lifetime is like Counter-Strike. I love the original Call of Duty games. Like I love the original Modern Warfare. But there was something about that latest Modern Warfare that, coupled with the kind of quite flippant treatment of war crimes and the kind of indiscriminate way you breach buildings and just kill anyone and everyone. Like there's women and children in that building, and you're like, you're not really, and it's all like under the guise of, well, we're the good guys, uncategorically, and there's not really perspective taken there. It like it left us like quite a sour taste in my mouth, where I think I reached a point where like the superheroism of people with guns on the military kind of, I reached breaking point with it.
As much as I think World War II has been overdone, I'm more comfortable playing those because like arguably like the last major war, there was like when there was like inarguably good guys and bad guys, right? Everything since then has been kind of a mess, and it's a bit fuzzier. But like no one's going to complain about shooting Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like at the same time, like I'm really interested in checking out Modern Warfare 2. I do, as much as I do feel that way. I also play first-person shooters, and I know that military shooters are a genre that I traditionally have enjoyed. So I'll definitely check it out. I do hope that there's less like. I hope there's a little more nuance to it. I don't know if it's fair to expect nuance from.
I think they tried with that most recent one.
Yeah.
They were trying to make it, less about, we're the kind of the police of the world, and we've got to go sort out the brown people are acting up again. Like it used to be that reductive, right? And I think they are trying to get away from that. And I think they have a responsibility to, because we're all becoming more politically and socially aware, and games are art, and art is political, whether you like it or not. I know people always like to complain about that, but it just is the way it is. Fucking grow up.
Yeah, for me, the interesting thing with the Highway of Death thing was it was a very real thing that happened. Like, and like they presented it almost as like, hey, we're looking at real world events. We want to bring this kind of level of realism and make it gritty, and we want to present it so it's it feels ripped from the headlines almost. And then they kind of tweaked some of the bit players to offload blame from themselves or like America onto another nation, where it's like, and if there's a group of people that are coming at this and don't have the context, they wouldn't be able to identify the fact that it was America that perpetrated that war crime or took part in it, and they walk around, their now worldview is it was Russia that did this and not America. And for me, when I interviewed the director, I was like, do you not have a responsibility to accurately portray it? And do you not feel that by changing some of the parameters, you've now rewritten history to a degree? And there was like a very mealy-mouthed response to that. And for me, I'm like, if you're doing this and you're trying to be like, we're modern, we're gritty, we're inspired by real life events, or we're depicting those, depict them as they were, not to kind of like conveniently.
I think not to kind of drag this down like a whole political rabbit hole, but I think you're absolutely right. And I think when you think about the audience for Call of Duty games, which includes like a lot of young people, right, teenagers, and sometimes even younger than that. I don't think you can argue to me that like if you play those games a lot and get really involved in those storylines and all of the messaging and the themes that are in there, that's not in somehow, especially if you're younger, that's not in somehow like filtering into your worldview and the way that you look at like the real world scenarios that are going on militarily and geopolitically. Like it's definitely playing a part, and so for that reason, I think you do have a responsibility to not fall into the trap of like jingoism and gung ho type bullshit.
And there's a very real reason why various militaries have a vested interest in video games. There's a reason why, the America's Army exists. There's a reason why they like advertising on places like Twitch. And there is to a degree, a pipeline from video games, at least in terms of like PR and kind of like your understanding of the world from video games and what people take away from it to real life. And I think there is a responsibility there. But at the same time, I look at this Modern Warfare 2 release, and they're focusing on the characters here, like Gaz and Price and that kind of stuff. So maybe it is going back to the days of we're not trying to depict the real worlds. We're just taking these larger than life figures and James Bonding and Ethan hunting them all up so that we can have this bombastic superhero Michael Bay style story. In which case, I'm like, okay, cool. If you're like creating a clear delineation there, go for it. More power to you.
I'll be interested to see as they go forward, given that there has been kind of like a bit of a geopolitical shift in terms of like where our eyes are focused right now, in terms of like where we think like conflict is in the world, right? Like it's kind of the Middle East this is a terrible way to put it, but like the Middle East is kind of like fallen out of fashion in a way, almost, and thinking
sure.
there's like that's like the conflict hotspot. And now obviously Russia and Ukraine is like the big thing. I wonder if some of the studios that are looking further down the road at like the next thing are already kind of recalibrating to kind of take us like more into back to Europe and back into like the idea of like actually Europe's not as stable and is a bit more fucked up than we always took for granted, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that is the case. It's just a matter of like, given the timing and like the production cycles and that kind of stuff, like, is it going to be kind of, how is it going to be in terms of the global landscape when many years down the line, or even like next year, like where are we going to be at with the real world conflict versus the game conflict? Are we going to be like, is it going to be outdated, for want of a better phrase?
Right.
That was the thing with the Middle Eastern one. Like, there's you know, a lot of time and effort has gone into ensuring that people only see the Middle East as a place for war, whereas that's quite different for Europe. And because of the way they approach the Middle East has always been a relevant battleground for these kind of things, whereas Europe feels like they're less. It's less likely to remain that kind of like setting that is always giving for these kind of games. So we might get one or two games that are set in that kind of conflict before it goes back to the Middle East, I suspect.
Yeah.
But moving on to another story coming from the number 2 video game website in the world is, of course, GameSpot.com, written by Eddie Makuch. Call of Duty devs vote to form the US's first union at a major games company. A group of quality assurance testers at Call of Duty developer Raven Software has voted to create one of the first video game unions in the United States, and the first at a major studio in the country. 22 staffers at Raven Software voted, and the motion passed 19-3. The group, known as Game Workers Alliance, can now move ahead with contract negotiations with management at Activision Blizzard. It's not immediately clear what specific terms the group is seeking. The Game Workers Alliance said in a statement to The Verge, "Our biggest hope is that our union serves as inspiration for the growing movement of worker organizing at video game studios to create better games and build workplaces that reflect our values and empower us all. We look forward to working with management to positively shape our working conditions and the future of Activision Blizzard through a strong union contract." In December 2021, QA workers at Raven went on strike. Some QA testers were later shifted to embedded jobs within other departments at Raven. Labor expert Tom Smith told Polygon that this was nothing more than a tactic to try and stop Raven QA from organizing. Activision Blizzard later announced that it would convert 1,100 temporary workers across the company to full-time and increase their pay to at least $20 per hour with eligibility for bonuses and benefits. A spokesperson for Activision Blizzard told GameSpot, "We respect and believe in the right of all employees to decide whether or not to support or vote for a union. We believe that an important decision will impact the entire Raven Studios of roughly 350 people should not be made by 19 Raven employees." That's what they said. In December 2021, workers at the small North American studio Vodio Games formed a union. So, this is a momentous occasion for the video game industry, the first union at a major publisher, and Activision Blizzard of all of them. What do you make of that, Gary?
I was thrilled to see this news yesterday. As you know, I'm a big union fan. I'm a proud member of my union, the Writers Guild of America West. And they're the only reason why I get paid a decent wage to do the work that I do. They're the only reason I have decent health insurance in a country where it's very hard to come by. I owe my union a lot, and I pay my dues proudly. And I'm not going to go on a big like political rant, but I do strongly believe that unions are the only answer, the only solution to, you know, the little guy, the worker. You know, getting pushed around and bullied and mistreated by, you know, the captains of industry and the masters of the universe, the billionaires that don't give a fuck about them. You know, apes together strong, right? It's the only way, right? You have to. Collective action is really the only way. You can't. It's like you can't. It's like NATO, right? You can't. An attack on one is an attack on all. If you bully one worker, you bully all of us. And one worker walking out doesn't mean anything, but all of us walking out together, you've got a fucking problem. And so unions historically, I think, are a brilliant idea. They're an absolutely massively necessary and important kind of social counterweight to, you know, all the power being, you know, with the rich. It's the only way to balance it out. And I think it's long overdue in the video game industry. I'm so glad to see this happen. It's obviously only a small unit. It's one part of one company, right? It's the Q&A department at Raven. But like you're right, this happened right in the belly of the beast, right in the center of Activision Blizzard. One of the, you know, which has worked so hard and fought so aggressively to stop unionization from happening, because they know once that power imbalance starts to even up a little bit, and all of the chips aren't on their side of the table, it's not going to be as fun for them. So I understand why, from their own kind of greedy, selfish point of view, the likes of Bobby Kotick and Bezos and Elon Musk and all these motherfuckers don't want unions inside their companies. But this just happened recently, right? One of the first unions at a warehouse in Amazon in New York.
Yes.
It's happening. We're starting to see more and more of it, and I think that the game industry is going to be a terrific catalyst for it. I really, really hope that this is like the first domino to fall, and we're going to see a lot more of this now. I think you're going to see other developers at other places go, well, they did it. Like, it's been they've shown that it can be done. And so I really, really hope that we see a lot more of this.
For 100%. I was part of a union when I was working for London Underground back in the UK, and it was my first exposure to a union. And although I didn't have anything that directly impacted me, there were a few kind of like negotiations that happened while I was there. And I got, from an insider's perspective, I got to see what a union could do. And I also got to kind of question my own knowledge of what unions are, because there's a lot of time and effort spent in presenting unions to people who don't know or have any personal experience with them in a certain way, and it's almost always vilifying them to a degree. You only really dispel that stuff once you encounter a union, or are part of a union, or know someone that is in a union, or you just take a genuine interest in it. And let me tell you, the impact that they have is immeasurable, and their express purpose is to be the voice of the workers. And in almost every single scenario, the voice of the workers are who you want to support, because those voices are going up against CEOs and senior executives that are millionaires, billionaires, and their only real concern is financial bottom lines. They don't really care about the impact that has on you as the worker. And when one union exists and is fighting for the rights of the workers, it emboldens and empowers others to do it. And the fact that this is happening at Activision Blizzard now means that there's going to be a lot of people at a lot of other smaller or even mid-sized or even similarly sized publishers and developers that are looking at that and thinking, if they can do it at Activision Blizzard, we surely can do it at our studio.
Absolutely.
And when that happens, it's going to be great.
And a lot of people have said, oh, well, it's only like 20 something people, but it doesn't matter. The point is that it's happened, right? They broke through, they got it done. And I do think the dominoes will start to fall now. I think you're exactly right that other developers will look at this and go, oh, like, nobody wants to be the first person out on the dance floor, right? But once a couple of people are out there, it's all right for other people to go. I think that's what you're going to see. I think this is going to embolden a lot of other people that have been thinking, like, nobody really wanted to be the first canary in the coal mine. Like, what if it doesn't work or whatever? But now it's, I'm very, very pleased and happy for the employees at Raven who had the guts to kind of make themselves like the first real test case here, and they've won it. They've shown that it can be done, and I would love to imagine that in 10 years from now, I don't think 10 years is an unrealistic timeline, that we would see unionization as the norm across the games industry, protecting game developers at all levels and in all areas.
For sure. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it happens. We got a couple more stories to go through, but before we get there, just a reminder that you can go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where you can get this show ad-free. If you haven't done that, you're about to hear a few words from our sponsors. And with the ads, Kev.
This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. I love MeUndies from head to toe, all over my body. If you don't believe me, of course, right now, I'm wearing the MeUndies shirt. You can tell by the little tag going on right there, right? I got the MeUndies lounge shorts going on. Of course, I got the undies, and then boom, MeUndies socks, baby. That's how we do out here at Kinda Funny. I love being soft head to toe in the micro-modal fabric. You already know all about that, but if you don't, let's face it, summer's sweaty, but your butt doesn't have to be. With MeUndies light and breathable micro-modal fabric, you can stay comfy and cool all summer long. They have super fun seasonal prints and tons of styles to choose from, but if you just like classic black, that's totally cool too. They got a bunch of just bold colors for you to go for. They have super fun seasonal prints, tons of styles, and sizes extra small to 4XL, so you can bring the beach to your butt without ever leaving your living room. MeUndies has a great offer for all of you first-time purchasers. You can get 15% off if you sign up for their free-to-join membership. You can apply that 15% off to their already discounted membership prices. To get 15% off your first order and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/kindafunny. That's MeUndies.com/kindafunny. Tell them Tim Getty sent you.
Our next story comes from the number 3 video game website in the world. It is, of course, GameSpot.com. Once again, Eddie Makuch.
Wait, you just said GameSpot was number 2 a minute ago. Are they falling down? Did they fall down the rankings?
Oh,
that
no,
quickly?
Gary, I don't. I'm not sure if you know this, but GameSpot is the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 best video game.
Oh, they just have all the top 10
occupy.
spots? Okay,
it's a monopoly. Yeah,
fair enough.
Pac-Man crossover with Fortnite has been announced and is coming on June 2nd. Fortnite's latest crossover has been announced, and it is none other than Pac-Man. An announcement post on the Japanese Pac-Man website confirms that some kind of collaboration between Fortnite and Pac-Man will begin on June 2nd. The website, translated by VGC, says items with the Pac-Man motif will be available in Fortnite starting June 2nd. Whether or not there will also be a Pac-Man skin in Fortnite remains to be seen, however. Fortnite, an online game marketed and distributed by Epic Games, and Pac-Man have decided to collaborate, the announcement says. Pac-Man motif items will be available. Pac-Man will be the latest massive franchise to collaborate with Epic Games for a Fortnite crossover. The other video game franchises that have come to the Battle Royale game include Halo, God of War, Horizon, and Street Fighter, among others. Outside of gaming brands, Fortnite has hosted franchises like Star Wars and Marvel. Currently, Fortnite is in the midst of its latest Star Wars crossover with an Obi-Wan skin now available in the Battle Royale game ahead of the TV show's release. Gary, how do you feel about Pac-Man coming to Fortnite? I'll get my opinion out ahead of the time. I do not care about Pac-Man anymore. I think we as an industry need to let Pac-Man go. Just let him go. Yeah, just
acknowledge the history, but move on.
Yeah, move on from him. Just like move away from him. I feel like we had the what was the championship editions,
and those were good.
I feel like he peaked. I feel like Pac-Man peaked there, and now we just need to move on. What about you?
I mean, I can get why you wouldn't necessarily want to keep making games, because obviously there's only so many ways you can do Pac-Man. I mean, I remember Pac-Mania and Pac-Land and all the different versions of it. Those championship editions are legitimately really, really good, though. Especially Championship and DX is really, really good.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I mean, he's such a big part of like video games. It's kind of like saying like, let's move on from Mickey Mouse, right? Like you got to acknowledge, you know, the pillars on which the gaming industry was built. You really want to consign that for the dustbin?
Mickey is still relevant though. Like he's appearing in Kingdom Hearts.
No, why did I say that? I opened the door to this to become a conversation about fucking Kingdom Hearts. I was gonna say the opposite thing. I thought you were gonna say I don't care about Fortnite, because you know that's me. I don't play Fortnite. I don't like or dislike Fortnite. I acknowledge it as a big thing, but it's not my cup of tea. I don't play it. So anytime a Fortnite story comes up, which is, you know, regular, there's always something going on in the world of Fortnite. I always have this kind of like, I'm at a remove. Like I'll tell you what I think, but I'm not invested. I'll be interested. I mean, like you said, like items with the Pac-Man logo seems like, who fucking cares? The question is, are they going to put Pac-Man in the game? And if so, what does that look like? Is he just going to be a big sphere running around? Or do they put like is it like a dead mouse thing where they put like a Pac-Man head on someone? I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine. It feels like clearly this is like, you know, this is a commercial imperative, not a creative one. Like Pac-Man and Fortnite don't seem like a natural fit, but someone at Epic or Namco said, hey, let's make some money. And that was, people like Fortnite, people like Pac-Man, throw them together. Everyone makes money. I guess why not? But I don't know.
That's precisely why I feel like we should let Pac-Man go, because right now Pac-Man exists purely to make Bandai money. Like, and that's it. Like, there's no good games coming out with Pac-Man to, like, you know, propel him forward. Like, at the very least,
they just did that. They just did that big like museum retrospective pack that had like Pac-Man across the ages. I'm always in favor of stuff like that. Like, it's never bad to be reminded of like the history of, you know, I mean, Pac-Man's up there with like Space Invaders and, you know, like the real, you know, the pillars on which the entire gaming industry was created. You know, the original arcade mega hits.
Yeah.
I mean, I got bad news for you, Tam. Like it or not, we ain't moving on from Pac-Man.
Yeah, we're not moving on. At the very least,
popular culture forever.
At the very least, I would like a new good Pac-Man game. Like, I would love a new Championship Edition or DX or something like that. If they're going to continue to really milk that character dry,
I was never a big fan of Pac-Land, or there's all kinds of Pac-Man games like Pac-Man Adventures or whatever. They just take the Pac-Man character and try to like inject lore and mythology and send him on like some kind of like point and click adventure or something. No. Like Pac-Man is at its best when it's just the classic. Like the game still, Pac-Man is still, even the original version is still fun. You can still pick it up and enjoy having a game.
Yeah,
of
for sure.
Which is testament to like the timelessness of the game design.
I will pop on like Championship Edition every now and then, and it still hits. It's so good.
When you hit a big snake and you're racking up those combos, man, it's so much fun.
Good. I think they could very easily, because they have Peely in the game, right? Like the banana peel character in Fortnite. So I think they could very easily make Pac-Man a giant spherical weirdo just in that game as a skin quite easily.
Given that this doesn't seem like a natural fit, Pac-Man and Fortnite, right? But we're still just like shrugging and going, sure, why not? Nothing matters anymore. Do you think there's anything? Do you think Fortnite has now reached a point of like such kind of cultural saturation that they could announce pretty much anything, and you'd go, sure, like the fucking Pillsbury Doughboy is in Fortnite now. Sure, who gives a fuck? The Kool-Aid guy. The fucking Kool-Aid, Mr. Kool-Aid is crashing through the wall.
I think like there's
we just accept anything at this point.
We'll take anything at them. I think the ones where it's kind of like, is that all right? Is when it's like the ones that I really struggle with is when it's a human character. Like for example, like I think like if they put The Rock in there and it's like just The Rock, I'm like, is that all right? That's a bit kind of weird, but I mean, like when they do stuff like, oh, we put Wolverine in here, I'm like, okay, cool, that's fair enough.
Something like that makes sense, right? But I'm saying they're at a point now where it's less about what makes creative sense. Like you go, okay, Wolverine, I get that. He's a combatant, right? He's someone who fights. Put him in a game, even though Wolverine doesn't. The way of Wolverine using a gun. So, and that's the other thing. I really bother me when they put like Superman in, and Superman's running around with a gun. Like, what the fuck is that?
Here's what I'll say, Gary. There's not enough iconic British characters in here. If you could add one iconic fictional British character to Fortnite, who would it be? For me, I think very easily it would be Mr. Blobby.
Mr. Blobby would be good.
Either Mr. Blobby or
force
Mr.
of absolute chaos.
Yeah, Mr. Blobby or Mr. Bean. Like, those two would be incredible.
Oh, can you imagine? I mean, why not?
That would be so good. Who would you?
And again, we would at this point they've so crossed that barrier where again, like we just now go, yeah, of course it's all about making money. We just accept it now. Like no one's annoyed anymore. We just understand that Fortnite is just this massive cash generating cross promotional machine. Yeah. And I think it is going to become more and more absurd. I'm trying to think who I would want in there. Someone from I'm trying to think. Like someone that I grew up with. What's that?
Someone from Only Fools and Horses.
Oh yeah, put Del Boy and Rodney in there. They could drive around in the little 3-wheeled van.
Yes, that would be so good. I would love
that. Would be good. Yeah. Put them all in there. Put Uncle Albert in there.
Yeah, get Trigger in there. Yeah,
Trigger, Mickey Pierce. Get them all in there. The whole crew.
That would be.
Now I want an Only Fools and Horses battle royale. Just that world. It's all set in Peckham, right?
Oh my god!
With Nelson Mandela House at the center of it all, and the circle is shrinking. Oh, I would love that.
Oh my god, that would be so. The circle is the fog from the Batman and Robin episode.
Oh yeah, and they're running out of the fog. Yeah, it makes total sense.
Oh god, there you go. Epic. If you need anyone to put together some ideas for
we can do it for you. If anybody wants the Only Fools and Horses battle royale,
let's do it. Next story comes from the fourth best video game website in the world. Gary, wouldn't you believe it? It's GameSpot.com.
GameSpot again. Well, I do now because you've explained to me how they have all the spots on the top 10. Yeah, it makes sense now.
Written by Darryn Bonthuys, Final Fantasy 15 was reportedly almost developed by Eidos Montreal. Final Fantasy 15's development process was infamously long, especially when compared to other mainline entries in the series. At one point, it looked like development would be helmed by a Western studio, Eidos Montreal. Speaking to True Achievements, former Eidos Montreal art director Jonathan Jake Baldino revealed that the studio had a really cool Final Fantasy game in development that would have been the 15th entry in the core series, but Final Fantasy Versus was eventually changed to be the next chapter in the franchise. Eidos Montreal brought back Deus Ex. I was the art director on that, Deus Ex Human Revolution. Then I was executive art director on Mankind Divided. Then we tried to do Final Fantasy 15, Jack Balatet said. Then Square Enix decided to bring Final Fantasy 15 back to Japan, which I think was a big mistake, but it's still the truth. Ours was really cool. Final Fantasy 15 was released in 2016, and as of this month have sold 10 million units worldwide across Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Eidos Montreal, meanwhile, would spend time working on more Deus Ex games, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and last year's well-received Guardians of the Galaxy. The studio would eventually be sold alongside Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix Montreal to Embracer Group, which has big plans to make good use of all the IPs that it has just acquired. As for Square Enix's RPG franchise, Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary news is coming, according to the company and producer Naoki Yoshida, who said he'd like to show a new trailer for the newest entry soon. I think that's just a really interesting insight into where Square Enix is at, if you know what I mean. Like at one point they were shopping, or they had brought in a Western studio to work on their biggest franchise. That's fascinating, right? And kind of unheard of.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, again, I'm not hugely invested in the Final Fantasy games, so it's hard for me to get inside the head of like that fan base. But I would imagine that the idea of, I mean, I can see the idea of like a Western studio doing a Final Fantasy spin-off. That might be an interesting experiment, like a different take on the universe. But like one of the core games, like a numbered Final Fantasy game, right? 13, 15, whatever, being done by a Western studio. I just imagine that the fan base would be like, no, I mean, there's something inherently Japanese about those games, right? And the idea of like a Western studio trying to emulate that or changing it or westernizing it in some way. I mean, I'm not saying they would necessarily do a bad job. Like if you told me that Insomniac were making a Final Fantasy game, I'd be like, oh wow, like, that could be really good because Insomniac only make absolute bangers, right? But at the same time, Final Fantasy it's so much of its identity is just how like Japanese it is, and all of the things that go with like making it kind of culturally and artistically unique to that perspective and coming from that part of the world and informed by that, all of the art and culture of Japan. Like, you know, Japanese games are just different, right? That's what makes them interesting and cool. Like I fucking like Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is one of my all-time favorite games. That game could not have been made by a Western developer, right? It could only have come from Japan. And I think, again, I'm less familiar with the Final Fantasy games, but I know enough about them to know that, again, I don't think those games could have come out of the West.
No.
And so again, I like the idea of a spin-off. It'd be interesting to see a different take, but like the core Final Fantasy games, I think. And to your point, Tam, I think it's interesting the idea that Square would even consider it. Like, what is that? What are the ramifications of that? You'd think even they'd be like, no, we would never even broken such an idea.
I mean, like it could speak to more of the kind of issues that they had around Final Fantasy 15 than their kind of insight or like their kind of approach to developing Final Fantasy games as a whole. But I would love a scenario where they give Final Fantasy spin-offs to developers outside of Japan, because like you said, I do like the idea of the core titles being developed by Japanese developers, specifically Square Enix. I think there is an argument to be made for like a freshening up of the core lineage, because in a lot of ways the games have become quite samey thematically, and in terms of character archetypes you get the same kind of archetypes existing throughout the core entries in those franchises. So maybe there is an opportunity for someone to come in from the outside and kind of mix it up a bit. But I do kind of also think that we need a kind of flagship, or we need a few flagship Japanese games that are unquestionably and unabashedly Japanese about themselves. And we have fewer and fewer of those these days. A lot of like Japanese developers are kind of being influenced by Western media to a degree. But I really hope they do take the approach of allowing third-party developers and partners to work on Final Fantasy. We got a little bit of it with, not necessarily from a Western studio, but a studio outside of their own, with Stranger of Paradise, which, I don't know, I wouldn't say that was a huge success, but it was a game that exists. I would love to see them maybe go back to the Western developers and be like, hey, because Western developers are like, there's so many that are huge fans of Final Fantasy. I bet you there's so many amazing things that Western developers could make with their passion for that franchise.
I mean, I'd be fascinated to slide into that parallel universe where it goes both ways, where like, you know, let's say Naughty Dog makes the next Final Fantasy, and fucking From Software makes the next God of War. Like, how fucking bizarre would that? I mean, that would be nutty, right? But like, I don't know if I'd want to live in that timeline, but I'd be fascinated to like peek into it and see what it looks like.
Yeah, I would still, I've said it before and I'll keep saying it until it happens. I would pay good money to give From Software the Legacy of Kain license. They are the perfect developer for it. But yeah, interesting. I hope we see a little more of this kind of approach to shopping their franchises around from Square Enix going forward. But yeah, final story of the day comes from the fifth best video game website on the internet, is GameSpot.com. George Yang. Dragon's Dogma 10-year anniversary site launches, but still no word on the leaked sequel. Capcom has launched a site celebrating the 10th anniversary of Dragon's Dogma. The website showcases a timeline of the franchise's history as it begins with the digital comic prologue, which launched in April 2012, and ends with the latest project, the release of Dragon's Dogma Netflix anime series in September 2022. If you're sitting here and you're like, oh, I didn't know there was a Dragon's Dogma Netflix series, I'll go check that out. I implore you, do not do that. Dragon's Dogma, first released in 2012, is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Thank you, Arisen, for taking up arms and braving through the impossible challenges laid ahead of you, says game director Hideaki Itsuno on the website. We are forever grateful for your support throughout the years and hope you will join us in this momentous celebration of Dragon's Dogma. And then they published a tweet which was 10 years ago, the mighty dragon Grigori, which in my mind, I always read as Gregory, which is just a terrible name for a big dragon. Big Dragon Gregory sealed a fateful pact with Arisen with the release of Dragon's Dogma. As we look to the future, we'll also reflect on 10 years of endless adventures, and we're inviting you to join in the celebration. Hashtag Dragon's Dogma 10th. Although there isn't anything new on the website, the 2021 NVIDIA GeForce Now leak included Dragon's Dogma 2. However, Capcom has yet to announce anything about a potential sequel. With this 10th anniversary website, it could be possible that Capcom is gearing up to reveal something new soon. Two possible venues for that could be Summer Games Fest Live or the Xbox/Bethesda Showcase, both of which are scheduled for June. Gary, any interest in a Dragon's Dogma sequel? Did you play the original? And what are the chances do you think of it showing up soon?
No, I got to admit, this is a complete blind spot for me. I've heard of Dragon's Dogma, and I saw some people on my timeline this morning, some Twitter friends were very excited about Dragon's Dogma being back in the news, but I know almost nothing about it. I literally just pulled it up on Steam. I'm looking at Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, which came out in 2016, just trying to get a sense like even what it is. And I guess it's like a running around fighting monsters RPG kind of thing. I know almost nothing about it.
Funnily enough, it's kind of the precursor to Elden Ring in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, I mean it does look a bit Elden Ring, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is like it has a lot of Souls-like combat, but the big thing, so it's very mechanics heavy. Coming from Capcom makes sense. Also directed by Hideaki Itsuno, who worked on a bunch of fighting games for Capcom, and also is most well known for Devil May Cry 3 and 5 and I believe 4 as well. Okay. And one of the main things is like this pawn system where you can basically Pawn, P-A-W-N.
Oh, okay. Just
not
checking.
Pawn. Where basically you can create this kind of AI companion character and take them out on adventures with you, and they grow. But then you can also send them off to adventure in other people's games. So like I could have my pawn and I could send him to your world to help you out. And by adventuring with you, they would continue to grow. And when they come back to me, they could be more powerful. They may even have like new armor and new stuff like that. So you're like, oh, my little dude went away and did these adventures and came back, and it was really cool system. Yeah, it was a lot of climbing was important before. It was pre Breath of the Wild, but like you could scale enemies a lot, like climb up to them and like get around them, and it was like kind of Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, I was going to say, sounds like Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, it's a very, very mechanically interesting and interesting game that kind of, it was poised to be something. It felt like a very, very smart, very, very polished proof of concept that they would make good on in another game in a major way, but that second game just never came around. Whether it's likely to come around feels like high, because we have had that leak and there's been whispers of it for a while. And also Itsuno-san is now a pretty much a superstar at Capcom, one of the few remaining superstars, I guess, at Capcom. He's like, the Devil May Cry franchise is just killing it, and he's been the director on that. I imagine he's got enough clout to now be like, okay, I've made you a bunch of Devil May Cry games. I've given you like a hell of a lot of like sales off those. I would like to build my own a sequel to this game that I worked on that I love. So I would not be surprised if Dragon's Dogma shows up fairly soon again.
Interesting.
I hope it does.
Eye on it.
It's going to be quite some time before we get to play a Dragon's Dogma game, I suspect. But
like gamers, if you're thinking about like what I understand, Dragon's Dogma has a fan base, but I mean, it feels a bit niche. Don't you think? Like gamers, as like the broader gaming community would probably be more excited about a new Devil May Cry than a new Dragon's Dogma, wouldn't they?
I think so, but I also think that Devil May Cry needs a bit of not a break, but I feel like Devil May Cry is a franchise that benefits of being missed for a bit, if you know what I mean. Like really build up the kind of fervor around it, and then it comes back. And that was kind of a big deal for the latest entry, where they announced it as Devil May Cry is back, and that helped it be a big thing. I think like we don't want to be overexposed to Devil May Cry, and like I feel like I said, it benefits a lot from absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I think that
I hear you.
DMC is one of those franchises that really benefits from that.
I know, but the games industry hasn't really learned that lesson. That's why we get a new Call of Duty every single year, right? It's like, well, if less is more, think about how much more could be.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like the Devil May Cry games definitely take bigger swings than the Call of Duty games on a year-to-year basis, with what they try and do and how much like effort is required, because you can't just reuse those mechanics. You can to a degree, but people want like an entire new set of. It's like they have to create a new chess every time they put out one of these games. They need to have intricate systems, and it's not as simple as we need to make the pointing and shooting feel good, if you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. It's like it's like anything. Like when they announced that Star Wars was coming back, with Force Awakens, it was like, oh my god, because it had been away for a long time. Now when they announce another Star Wars thing like every week, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Because we're so saturated with it now that it's not, that scarcity does make it more special. I agree.
For sure. Gary, if I wanted to know what's coming to Mom and Grub shops today, where would I look?
The official list of upcoming software on each and every platform, as listed by the Kinda Funny Games daily show hosts each and every weekday.
Kevin?
Kevin? Oh dear. Tammy, you're going to have to do it.
Yeah, I could hear it there. I could hear it.
Oh, here he is.
Tam,
what is
this?
Kevin,
Gary.
you do not have to explain to me anything. I know that you are currently on the surface of the sun, burning up.
I was going to say, Gary doesn't watch the stream, so he couldn't hear that the music was going on.
Okay, gotcha. But people don't know.
You're playing.
There's a little bit we play.
I can't watch the stream because then I'm going to be having two versions of it in my ear with a delay.
That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
It is how it works.
No. I'm sharing a stream to you right now on Discord.
Yeah, I see that. Yes,
you must have.
But I have it muted.
Yeah, so there's no need to have it muted.
Really?
Anyways, it doesn't matter. Also, Tam, sorry, it's been a while since you hosted as the main host, so I never remember who does that. Just because.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't want to butcher the jingle.
Yeah, there's very few people.
Yeah.
But also, I'll listen to the stream from now on.
Yeah, can we get some W's in the chat for Kevin, who is currently has like 4 fans pointing at him because it is so hot where he is, but he's putting in the work.
It is warm today. It's very warm.
He's doing
73 according to my little thingy, which that's hot.
Everyone show some love for Kevin, okay? Out today, we have Crossfire Legion on early access on PC. We got Hard Space Shipbreaker on PC. MX vs. ATV Legends on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. And Streets of Rage 4 is now available on iOS and Android. Good game. Check that out.
New dates. Streets of Rage 4 and mobile? Yep. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. If you've got a backbone, it will probably work great. New dates, Lord of the Rings Gollum is coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series S and X, and PC on September 1st, and then later on Switch. No date on the Switch version, but there it is. If you want to know whether that's any good, you can go to GameSpot.com or YouTube.com/GameSpot, where we have previews for it up, and check that out. We're running a bit late, so we're going to skip the reader mail. I'm going to go to You're Wrong real quickly. See what's going on.
That's a waste of time as well. I don't know why Greg persists with that segment.
Yeah, I mean, like, Gary, you said that, but I looked in there, and there was one good one. There's a bunch from Nano here. Nano is always out here trying to tell us that we're wrong about everything.
I know, and he falls flat on his face every time. Give me the good one.
The good one was from Blobby, and it was Blobby, 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 Blobby.
That's honestly the best You're Wrong I've heard in a long time. Legitimately,
you truly love to see
as good as
incredible.
It gets.
Yeah. Tomorrow's hosts are Blessing and Janet for Wednesday. Thursday, there's Greg and Tim. And on Friday, Greg and Blessing. If you're watching live on Twitch, after this, there is... what is after this, Kevin?
KFW.
KFW
Funny Wrestling.
Sweet. Oh, yes, of course. If you want to watch that stream later, subscribe to youtube.com/kindafunnyplays. This has been Kinda Funny Games Daily, where each and every weekday live right here on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. We have a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/kindafunnygames. So stick around for that. Otherwise, until next time, laugh and grow fat.